Welcome to WebStylePress. If you haven't already subscribed, consider subscribing and hit bell icon for updates. Font size, line height and vertical margins always take more time from a front-end developer because he has to tackle responsiveness for these in several media queries. Imagine large-scale websites with many web components requiring a lot of CSS responsiveness and media queries. Most of the responsiveness code contains adjustment for font size, line height, and vertical margins applied to headings, paragraphs, and such elements. Wouldn't it be better to use modular scaling for fonts without using media queries? Use media queries for other parts of responsiveness. For font size and line height, declare a modular scale one time at a single place and forget about it throughout the website. It will be a huge time saver. In this video, we will see how can we adjust font size, line height and vertical margins smoothly without media queries. I am talking about fluid typography. First of all, let's create a responsive example with help of media queries that is not fluid because it depends on viewport's breakpoints. I have got this index.html page and custom.css, a style sheet is linked with it. I also want to use Bootstrap's CSS with this document to use its container. Let's use CDN for the Bootstrap's CSS. This is the output for this page and this is our custom.css file. Let's create HTML. We will need headings. So let's use H1 and then H2 and H3. Also, we will need paragraphs. Let's use 3 paragraphs. I will use some dummy text here. Dummy text for heading 1 and for heading 2 this is our dummy text. For H3 same dummy text, and for paragraph this is our text. Same text for second paragraph, same text for third paragraph, and this is the output. So this is heading 2 and this is heading 3. So heading 1, heading 2, heading 3, and these are the paragraphs. Let's inspect it. And if I inspect, right click and inspect heading 1 tag, it's got this font size 2.5 rem. And in the computed section, I can see the font size that is being applied, that is 40 pixels here, and line height 48 pixels. Let's apply CSS to this document. First of all, body. Let's use font size 16 pixels, and 16 pixels is the default font size for most web browsers. Line height 1.4, background color 111, and then color 999. So this is for the body. Heading 1, heading 2, heading 3. Font size 26 pixels. For H2 font size 22 pixels. For H3 font size 20 pixels. H1, H2, H3. Line height 1.2 for just headings, and then margin. I will use margin bottom as 20 pixels, and then text transform, capitalize, font weight 700. Save, refresh, and this is the output for our document. And I can click at this toggle device toolbar to bring up responsive controls for this page. I can select the device from here, or I can just resize this page from here and see the responsiveness for different screens. And I can also change it from here. Let's say 1024 for iPad, and I can select the percentage 100% to view it as it will be viewed at a screen of 1024 pixels. I can also select the iPad from here, and again from here 100%, and I can rotate this device. I myself prefer this responsive mode. So if I want to change the font size and line height for paragraphs and headings present at this document, I will have to use media queries. So let's use a single media query, media all, and minimum width 1200 pixels, and body, and then H1, H2, and H3. So for body, I want the font size to be 18 pixels for screens with the minimum width of 1200 pixels. 1200 pixels and above, this CSS will be applied at these elements. So for heading 1, I want its font size to be 32. Initially it was 26. And for H2, I want the font size to be 26 at this point. It was 22 initially. And for H3, I want the font size to be 22. Let's save it, and let's apply it. And as you can see, now font size is bigger. If I comment this code, refresh the page, you can see the width of this document is more than 1200. So this media query will be applied. So this is 1200, enter, and this is 100%, and this is 100% view. So if I bring down the width from 1200 pixels, you can see the font has decreased. You can see visible difference here. Overall font has been increased and now it has been decreased. So below 1200 pixels, font will be following these rules. But at 1200 pixels and above, these styles will be applied. So this is how media queries work. Obviously, you can create more media queries. You can specify different font styles here for, let's say, 1600 pixels. And you can specify more media queries, let's say 1024 pixels. So you can specify different styles here, different styles here for these. You can add as many media queries as you like, but this approach is hectic. We have got small amount of text here, 3 paragraphs and 3 headings at this document, and this is one document. What if you are working at a large scale website that contains a lot of documents, a lot of web components and a huge CSS? You will need to use a lot of media queries for those components to only handle font sizes and line heights. It will waste a lot of time. Instead of doing this, instead of using media queries for font sizes and line heights or even for margins, what you can do, you can use modular scaling for fonts with this technique that we are going to discuss next. And for that technique, our HTML will remain same, our CSS will be changed. Now we will not need these media queries. We will change font size and line height without media query. But before that, let's understand few key concepts that we are going to use next. First is EM. EM is a relative unit that depends on parent's element's font size. For example, 2EM means 2 times the size of the parent's font size. Next is VW. VW is viewport's width and it's relative to 1% of the width of the viewport. For an example, 50 VW will be half of horizontal viewport or device screen's width. So if this is 100%, its 50 VW will be half of it, half of screen. And then viewport. Viewport is the user's visible area of a web page. The viewport varies with the device and will be smaller on a mobile phone than on a computer screen. And then calc CSS function. It performs a calculation to be used as a property value. For example, calc 100% minus 20 pixels means 100% width of element minus 20 pixels. This calc is one of few functions available in CSS. Now we are using different technique of responsiveness to handle font size and line height. And now we want to change the font size and line height fluidly. As I will change the width of this document, the font size and line height will change accordingly. So font size, line height, and for heading we have got font size and height, and then for h2 font size and line height, font size and line height. So for body font size, instead of using fixed pixels value, we will use calc function. Calc 16 pixel plus 1 VW. So this is responsive font size. And for line height, again we will use calc function, and let's say 22 pixels plus 1 VW. So this font size and line height will be applied at the body, and we can call this line height as responsive vertical space between the lines. And this is the output, and as you can see, if I bring the width of this document down, this font size changes, and it changes fluidly. At this point, 320 pixels width, you can see the font size is 19 pixels here in this computed area. In the styles, you will see styles for the body as these font size calc 16 pixels plus 1 VW. For the actual styles, you will have to click at this computed area and then see this font size. Right now 19.2 pixel is being applied at this paragraph, and if I increase the width, you can see the font size has changed. Now it is 22 pixels, 22.85 pixels, and for the line height it is 28.85. And if I increase it further, you can see the font size is increasing, and also line height. Now the font size is 28.85 pixels and line height is 34.85 pixels. So this is now fluid typography. You do not need media queries for this technique. And for further control, you can control it according to your need. Let's say at 320 pixels, you want this text to be around 16 pixels. Right now it is giving me font size 19.2 pixels. I want to make it 16 pixels. At this point, at 320 width or on the mobile screen. So what you can do is you can decrease this portion, this one. Let's use 15 pixels and see how it affects the font size now. As you can see, now the font size is 18.2 pixels. We want 16 pixels or around 16 pixels, so we can decrease this VW as well. Let's use 0.5 VW for the font size, and now for 320 screen we have got font size of 16.6 pixels. I am alright with that. So now we have got the font size 15 pixels, and for the increment we have used 0.5 VW, so it will increase at the rate of 0.5 VW. Now as you can see, at width of 1200 pixels, font size is 21 pixels. That is acceptable. And if I make it 1600 pixels, at this point font size is 23 pixels. And at 1920 font size will be 24. And now font size is 21.725 pixels. So the font size is fluid now. It will decrease as the width of web page or width of device will decrease, and it will increase fluidly as the device screen width will increase. Also, let's adjust the line height. So line height at 320, line height is 25 pixels, 25.2 pixels. Let's adjust it a bit as well. Let's use 0.6 VW here. Now at 320 the line height is 23, around 22, near to 22 that I want to achieve. So I guess it is alright, or I can use even 21 pixels, and now it's 22.92. I guess this is fine. And if I increase the width of page, now the line height is 28. As the font size increases, the line height will also increase fluidly. Let's handle headings now. So for H1 I want 1.6 EM. So I am using EM here because I do not want to use fixed unit like pixels here. EM is relative. So because EM is relative, this font size will depend on its parent. And if the parent will increase or decrease its font size, that will affect here as well. And for H2 I want 1.4 and 1.4 EM, and for H3 I want 1.2 EM. For the line height I will use calc function. For H1 let's use 30 pixels plus 1 VW. For H2 and for H3, for H2 let's decrease it a bit because font size will be small. Let's use 26, and here let's use 24, and 1 VW will be fine here for these three headings, I guess. And let's see the result. So let's start from 320. So at 320, this is how my headings will look like. And for its font size is 26 pixels at 320 device width. Its line height is 31. That is all right. And if I increase it, font size will increase and line height will also increase. Now the font size for heading 1 is 33 pixels, 33.304 pixels. I will ignore the value after point. So line height is 39 and font size is 33, and if we decrease the page, then for the h1 heading 1 the font size is 28 and line height is 33, and here at a bigger screen font size is 33 and line height is 40. So these are increasing, and for the heading 2 line height is 35, font size is 29, and for smaller screen line height is 29 and font size is 24, and it is fluid. It will gradually increase and decrease. Line height and font sizes are gradually increasing and decreasing by using this technique. I forgot to delete this line height from here, and I will also delete this margin from here, and I will in fact apply margin here for these three headings, and I just want bottom margin. And instead of 20 pixels, a fixed unit here, I will again use calc CSS function, and I will use 16 pixels plus 1 VW. I want to increase this margin as the font decreases or increases. So at 320 viewport at 100% for h1, now margin bottom is 19.2 pixels for heading 1, and if I increase it, this margin will also increase. Now margin bottom is 27.83. So by using this technique, you can declare font size, line height and margin at a single place, and without using media queries, these CSS properties will be responsive across your website. This is kind of an experiment, and you should not use this technique with most projects. If you work in an office as a developer, then you already know that you have to convert design as pixel perfect as humanly possible, and you cannot use modular scale that adjusts font size according to viewport. If design has got specific instructions on font size for different devices, you should follow that and skip this technique. But if you are working on your own projects, or design allows you flexibility, or client is not too specific about font sizes at different screens, then you can go ahead and use this method to just auto scale up and down font sizes based on viewport and not care about font size to be specific at a specific device screen. In other words, let's say client says that I want the font size to be 16 pixel for mobile, and you can scale it up a bit on larger devices so that it looks neat. You can go ahead and use this technique. But if client asks you to use, let's say, 16 pixel font size on mobile, 18 pixel at tablet and 20 pixels at desktop, then it leaves you with no flexibility to use this technique when specific instructions are provided. Just keep that in mind. Also make sure your target web browser or device supports EM, VW and calc. In most cases it should support these. That's it for this video. I hope you liked it. If I missed anything or you have something to add, you can comment down below. ask questions related to this topic. If you haven't already subscribed, subscribe to this channel and hit bell icon to receive updates. Join us on social media. Links are in the description below. Stay tuned for more updates. I will see you in the next video.